Hey everybody, Crow back again, and in this video I want to talk about the list of major updates that were made recently to Pinball FX as of July 21st, 2022. And this includes the new Zen original table based on the Grimm Tales, and also the newly added Summer Classic season, as well as some other changes. And I'll finish this video up with some other things that I've noticed since the last video that I've made. But before I continue, I'd like to mention that Zen Studios did provide me with some tickets initially to purchase some tables, and then a little bit later they provided me with a season pass. So I had access to practically everything in the game for free. However, I did purchase some tickets and tables with my own money, and I'll elaborate on that later in the video. Also, if you're unaware, this game is only currently available for PC on the Epic's Game Store in an early access state. I know Zen Studios had listed that the summer of 2022 was the release date, but at this point I wouldn't be surprised if the release is more than a few months out. There are still a lot of issues that need to be ironed out, and I don't think it's close to being ready for an official release. With that out of the way though, let's start with some of the general updates that were made. Now on Discord they did post a list of the things that were updated and fixed with this update, and I'm going to use that as my main basis for going through this video. But one of the biggest things that's now available in Pinball FX is a new table, a new Zen original table based on Grimm Tales. In fact, I think it's just called Grimm Tales. And I found it was a pretty simple and straightforward table for a Zen original table. There are 4 flippers total. A lot of times these Zen tables tend to have flippers all over the place, but this one has 4. Now 2 of them are your main flippers at the bottom, but the other 2 aren't really used in regular gameplay. They're kind of elevated up, and they're really only used to guide the ball along, certain paths and certain modes. So really the whole thing is really simplified when compared to other Zen tables. But one of the things on this table that really stood out to me that I need to mention is the mirror that hangs over the rollovers at the top of the table. And I think that's really cool. It kind of reminds me of the way it was set up in Theater of Magic. It's just a really cool effect, I think. And it makes it a lot easier to tell which rollovers are lit and not. Now the main goal of this table is to rescue a princess from an evil witch who is actively trying to thwart your efforts. She will do things like obscure your view, she'll shake the table, and she'll transform your ball, changing how it behaves. Now in order to rescue the princess, you have to complete all the modes in the table, and each mode is a different Grimm tale. And the tales included are Little Red Riding Hood, Cinderella, Snow White, Hansel and Gretel, Rapunzel, Sleeping Beauty, and The Wolf and the 7 Little Goats. And what I thought was kind of cool is as you're playing these modes, as you're making each shot, the story is narrated as you complete each objective. And as soon as you complete all the objectives for the tale and it's over, you basically shoot the ball into the castle where it sits there as proof that you've completed a tale. Now, I really like the video display on this table. It's all animated and everything that kind of shows the stories as you're playing them. And I thought that was kind of cool, and a lot of variety in that. It's also the kind of thing that you don't even really notice as you're playing it, but looking at my footage, I thought it was kind of interesting the way things were animated. Now my initial impression of this is that I think it's one of Zen's best original tables. While I was playing it, the whole atmosphere of the table kind of felt like Jersey Jack's Wizard of Oz table. I think that's great. Now, aside from the new table, there have been new features that were added as well. The first thing that is listed is season events. Now, it says, check out the Summer Classic season now. Now, when I first saw this, I thought it was saying something like there would be summer-themed events. But when I saw the option there at the top of the screen and I clicked on it, I was a bit confused because all it showed me was a long line of what appeared to be rewards and a 0 at the bottom, which presumably was my score. But after playing some other events, I think I understand this now. I believe you get 1 point for every event you participate in. So as long as the summer event is going on, you'll keep adding to that score. So just playing one event will get you the mirror ball, but I'm kind of unclear as to what that reward actually is. The icon seems to indicate it may be some sort of collectible, but I couldn't find it unless you don't get the rewards until after the event's over. Now at this time I've got a score of 14, which should also get me the Retro Futuristic Machine Common, which I think is a profile customization, but that hasn't appeared either from what I could find. Now, it also looks like the image isn't aligned correctly on the screen, and I think it's the description text that's the cause of this, because the description text happens to be too long for whenever that bug shows up. Anyway, that's a minor nitpick though, and I'm sure that'll get corrected in due time. One additional thing about events while I'm on the topic, the last video I mentioned that the events that had the Pinball Pass tag were only available for people with a Pinball Pass, but apparently that wasn't the case, as just about anybody could have participated as long as they owned the table. Now ultimately I don't know if this was some sort of bug or if the Pinball Pass tag was just misleading. Another new feature says, added the collection feature. Take stock of all your collectibles and see what you need to unlock in the future. This feature is available in the Collectibles menu. And sure enough, if you clicked on Collectibles, there's a little button in the corner that says Collection. And I think this is a great addition because it sorts all the available collectibles into 4 categories. So for example, if you don't have a statue in your room and you want to put one on display, you can just go to the statues page and see which tables you can earn a statue on, so you know which tables you want to concentrate on. Now it also says what you need to do to earn that collectible, but most collectibles are just earned by total points earned on a table over time anyway. But some of them aren't, and so it's helpful to know how to unlock some of them. So the next couple of things that have been updated have to do with user-generated tournaments, and they've basically added 3 things to this. What they've added is a password feature, a tournament ID, and new filters. So with the password feature, this lets you password protect your tournaments so you can make them private, so not just anybody can join. With the tournament IDs, it's like a 4-letter code, and if you want to direct people towards your tournament that you've created, you could just give them that code instead of having them just search for it. And the new filters that they've added for the tournaments will help you search and find the tournaments that you want to participate in. So overall, great that those 3 features were added to the user-generated tournaments. Now, I did wind up making my own tournament to see some of these changes, but mostly I did it because there's an achievement for doing that. If you're interested, it's open to anyone, and the tournament ID is CH02, and the table is No Good Gophers. It's classic play, and it should be live for a little less than 2 weeks by the time this video goes live. And they have a couple other things mentioned as general updates in this list. And one of them is now that you can create a tournament with just a controller, which is great because that's something that they'll need on the consoles. And the last thing that is mentioned as in general is various localization fixes, whatever that is. Now, they also list a whole bunch of tables that have had specific fixes as well, and those tables are Space Station, Funhouse, Curse of the Mummy, Theater of Magic, The Machine, Bride of Pinbot, Dr. Dude and His Excellent Ray, and Jurassic Park Pinball. And I'm not going to go through every single update that was made to every single table, but I do want to mention a couple things that are relevant because I brought them up in my last video. And the first one was Funhouse specifically, because I did mention that there were enhancements going off on the table when I was playing in a regular non-enhanced mode. And I guess they're starting to fix some of that, because one of the things mentioned under Funhouse is that they fixed multiple visual extras not turning off in the enhancement off mode. So apparently that has been fixed, but apparently it's an issue for a lot of tables. So I guess they're just going to be fixing them one at a time, because they're still there on other tables. I mean, I recently noticed this issue when I was playing No Good Gophers. And the other table I wanted to mention was Dr. Dude and His Excellent Ray. Because in the last video I'd mentioned that there was an issue of the ball shooting out of the Gift of Gab so hard that the ball would instantly drain. Now, in the comments of that video, I was told that the issue was due to my video settings, something about having the frames per second set to being over 60 and the VSync being disabled. And I did test this by capping the frames per second to 60, and that did fix the issue. The problem is that I don't want to have to nerf the frame rate to make this table playable. But I don't know if this issue was corrected and not documented, because I played Dr. Dude with the same settings after the update, and it didn't happen again. But I'd rather have the issue be fixed no matter what my video settings are. So that's it for the updates that were made. but I do want to mention some things that I've noticed since the last video that I made, and the first thing has to do with the events. Now, some of the events that I participated in had ended, and I wondered why I didn't get a notification or anything about it, especially since I'd gotten first place in one of them. Now, I knew there were trophies in the game because there are shelves in the tournament area where you can only put trophies. So I started looking through the events that had ended, and clicking on one I participated in, I saw that there was a claim button. When pressed, that's when I got my trophy. I kind of thought this was bizarre. I mean, if the event ended and you earned a trophy, I would think you'd just get a notification about it and the trophy would just be in your inventory. It also makes me wonder if there's some sort of time limit as to when you can collect your trophy. I mean, if you wait too long, will you miss an opportunity to claim it? I think the whole process needs to be changed because I can't imagine most people will remember they have to sort through old events to claim their rewards. On the plus side, however, I was kind of surprised to find that the trophies are not all the same, with just a bronze, silver, gold, and diamond variant. The trophy I got from the Bride of Pinball event was styled after the bride herself. I guess I should have figured there'd be more than 4 trophies though, since there's 8 spots to put them. While on the subject of collectibles, even though there are 2 areas to place collectibles now, I feel like eventually more areas will need to be added because there's not a lot of space to put what's currently available on display in the game, and more collectibles will continue to be added with each new table included. I also kind of feel like I should be able to walk around freely in these areas. It's not a big deal, but I think it would add to the immersion. It would also be cool to be able to see how other people decorated their areas, like it could be an option that pops up if you click their name. Now, I know that some people could care less about these collectibles, but some people just might not care because they know nobody else is ever going to see it. Now, lastly, I want to talk a little bit about the store and the way tables are purchased. I know a lot of people out there have an issue with the ticket system, and I will agree that if I want to buy tickets, why can't I just pay the price for the tables instead of having to buy tickets to buy tables and then have leftover tickets? I kind of understand why Zen went with this ticket system as a way to purchase tables within the game instead of separate DLC available outside the game, but they should have done it in a way where people aren't spending more money than they need to. For someone like me, it's not a huge deal to have leftover tickets because I know I'm going to be purchasing more tables further down the line, so those tickets more than likely won't go to waste. But for somebody who wants to purchase tables but is unsure of if they want to buy more tables in the future, well, they are simply overpaying, and it's really something that needs to get rectified somehow. If they insist on using this ticket system, you need to find a way to let people buy exactly the number of tickets they need so they don't have any leftovers when their purchase is complete. Anyway, I went a little off on a tangent there from what I actually meant to talk about. Now, earlier I mentioned that Zen Studios provided me with a pinball pass so I didn't need to purchase the tables to play them. But there's something in me that's bothered by the fact that it said that I own some tables but not others. And then I started thinking, well, if this pinball pass expires next year, then I'll have to buy a year's worth of tables all at once just to continue playing them. So, since all the tables were on sale at this time, and they set the system up so that the more tables you buy at once, the more of a discount you get, I just added the 12 tables I didn't own to the cart just to see what it would cost, and it was around 328 tickets. With the lowest bundle of tickets being 100 for about $10, I could figure I could estimate one ticket to cost about 10 cents. So translated from tickets to dollars, the 12 tables was about $32.80, which breaks down to about $2.73 per table, which I didn't think was that bad considering they sold tables in bundles of 3 in Pinball FX 3 for about $10. So 12 tables would have been the equivalent of 4 bundles for $40. But of course, I can't just buy 328 tickets, as I'd have to buy at least 4 bundles of 100 at a total price of $40, which winds up being the same. But then I'd have tickets left over, and I know I'd use those in the future. But unless the system changes, and no matter how many tables I eventually buy, I know that more than likely, when Pinball FX comes to an end, there will be tickets left on the table, or in other words, wasted money. But again, we'll see if Zen Studios can fix this problem that they've created. And in the end, I didn't spend $40 on tickets. I spent $50 on tickets because of the extra 75 tickets you get for that price. Now, maybe a waste of money if those tickets never get spent, but at least I know it's a waste of money. And with that, I'm going to bring this video to a close. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.